Hey guys, welcome back to the RC Air Experience podcast. I don't know what episode we're on. It doesn't matter anymore because I think we've hit number 10. So
Which is
I'm I'm Jonathan from the lighter side of RC. We've got Anthony here from FPV Builds, and we've got Patrick Rohrbach.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Yes. I was actually practicing that all day. So a little background on Patrick, how we know each other. We met about 3 years ago, almost coming up on 3 years ago, at Montana Jets. And I kind of got to know Patrick's dad first, Kelly, and that relationship kind of developed and went down to Montana Jets. And that was the first time I met Patrick. And yeah, that's kind of the start of everything that's happened. And I'm always impressed when I see Patrick fly. So welcome, Patrick. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for asking
a lot. That's a huge compliment.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Anthony. We were just down in Tucson for about 10 days. I brought my Rebel Classic down there, and I asked Patrick to do the maiden for me, and he did the maiden, and he flew that plane harder than I will ever fly it ever on the maiden flight. It was unbelievable to watch, and it was cool. So
Was
very
it
impressive.
Was it exciting to watch, or were you like, "Oh God, please let this"?
Oh no! It's always exciting. When he's doing knife edge slow rolls like 6 inches above the ground
on a maiden.
On a maiden, oh yeah.
Wow.
Just one circuit around to get the feel of it, and then he's like, "Okay," and he just goes nuts. So it's impressive. It really is.
You got that up perfectly. That thing flew awesome.
That's one way to test the build, right?
You got it. If it's gonna fail, it's gonna fail then.
Yep.
Patrick will test your maiden for you. Make sure everything's tight.
So Patrick, tell us about you. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into RC stuff?
Absolutely. So I was born in Kalispell, Montana. Just turned 20 here, March 8th. So born in Montana, raised there my whole life. My dad, his one wish was that he would have at least one son that was into RC airplanes, and he ended up getting two. And we both, my brother Klaus, were both into it. And anyways, started off with like a little Horizon Hobby MCX helicopter when I was like probably 4 years old. My dad was putting his thumbs over my thumbs and trying to just get me to learn to fly it. And that thing flew awesome. Flew it for like a year, crashed it a ton, broke a lot of stuff on it. And then my brother handed me down the original ParkZone Ember 2, little ultra micro. It must have been, I don't know, this big or so, real simpler, three channels.
Yeah.
And I started off on that, flew that a bunch. And once I finally was old enough to start going to the airplane field with my dad, then he got me a T-28, and I flew that thing a ton. Then got a little ParkZone Extra 300, and that was like my first performance airplane, I guess. Cool. And that thing was crazy. I don't even know. Like I guess back then you had the ParkZone, the green battery, the 2200 that they puff on flight.
I still have a couple.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
That was my first RC plane that I ever bought and flew. So that's funny. Yeah.
That's cool. It was a great airplane. I wish they. And I had the yellow one, the new yellow one too. Like the orange one was just classic, but
nice.
And then after that, my first jet, I guess, was a E-Flight Habut 2 in the Thunderbird scheme, and I like that one a ton because it kind of looked like a Bandit, and that's my favorite jet is a BVM Bandit. And so then my dad had a Balsa Bandit that he built in, I want to say 96, ish, roughly around there. And he had a unfortunate little mishap on landing. And I think it broke the nose or something. And he fixed it all the way back up to the point where he needed to paint it, and then stuck it under the bench and didn't want to touch it because, you lose interest after something like that. But anyways, I think I was probably 6th grade, in 6th grade, and I saw it, and I pulled it out, and I told my dad, if I start fixing this thing, could I have it? And he kind of laughed, and he was, oh, there's no way you're going to even do anything with that, and so then I started painting it and priming it and all this stuff. And then he got mad because I did it wrong. So then he was doing it for me. So anyways, got it all fixed up and put a turbine back in it and some new servos. And I'm still flying that today. But that was my first jet, was a Balsa Bandit. And I flew it down at Tucson. Love that jet. It's kind of a classic, being that it's from 1996. But so that was pretty much my intro to jets, was about 6th grade, and then from then on I was blessed to get a few more from a good buddy of mine, Ad Clark. Gave me the best deal I think ever on an Ultra Bandit, which that's my favorite RC jet I've ever had in my entire life. And
so the one you have now, is that the one from Ad?
Yeah, the white and orange one. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow.
That's Ad. He had that in the box. He got that thing. I honestly don't know. He had it. He had two. He had a white and orange navy one. That's the one I have now. Then he had a yellow, and it was the first ever 2 signature series ones that Bob Violet actually signed them on the back of the tail. And you guys will see something cool on Jonathan's channel. I can't say anything. I don't know, but there will be something that you'll see that's coming up that's pretty cool. But But anyways, that was pretty much that's my favorite jet. That's my go-to, is my Ultra Bandit.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you guys probably make fun of me, but the ParkZone thing, I'm a huge ParkZone freak. I actually think their planes were made better than the newer E-Flight stuff.
Yeah.
And I was at a swap meet a couple of weeks ago, and I have one that I restored brand new. And I saw one sitting on a table at the end of the swap meet, and I had to grab it because, like, you can't get parts for these things.
No.
So, like, this is my, I call it my resto modded ParkZone. This is my resto modded ParkZone P51.
Nice.
I redid everything on it, painted it, took it apart. It's got a new motor. It's fast. It's probably 100-mile-per-hour plane now because I put a new motor and ENC in it.
Wow.
Spinner. It's got the FPV setup, canopy. So I picked up that. I found that new in stock at a hobby shop, brand new in a box. My wife bought it for me last Christmas.
Wow.
And that was like a home run. And then I found one at swap meet. Swap meet, same exact plane, but all original.
Oh, cool.
No way.
Wow.
She's got some miles on her, though.
Wow, that's a classic there.
It really is. They stopped making these back in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
So I had to grab it. It was like $40 too.
Wow. That's awesome.
I have planes everywhere now. There's just it's so bad.
And you're hand launching all those things?
Yeah, those are hand launched.
Yeah.
So that was my first ParkZone plane, that P51. Yeah. And literally, you throttle up to like, you have the T28. I don't know if you hand launched it or not, but literally, you throttle it up to like 50, 60%, and you just underhand, like, let it go. You underhand release, and it just smoothly flies out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It just whoop, right out of your hands. It's very good flight characteristics, no bad tendencies. Now, this one, because of the new motor and everything I have in that one, when it starts to like really cook, like the whole airframe starts vibrating and the wings are flopping. So I gotta do something about that. Wow. I don't do that a lot. I don't like do full punch outs on it because it gets a little squirrely when you do that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like they're just such good flying planes. Like,
nice.
My Corsair that I lawn darted a year ago, that was a ParkZone Corsair, and I have the E-Flight Corsair. That was going to be the replacement for the Corsair that I lawn darted. The good thing about them was they're 1.1 millimeters, so they're a little bit easier to hand launch. The 1.2s get a little bit bigger, and they're a little bit harder to hand launch. And some of the fields I fly at are really tall grass, so landing gear just does you no good. Just nice, easy, soft belly landings. But yeah, you guys are bringing me back. So that P51 actually came with a brand new green 2200 3S pack.
Oh yeah,
literally still have it. It's like
Wow.
Amazing.
That's funny. I still use that pack from my original plane to power my air compressor, like
Oh yeah.
for filling up airplanes. Yeah.
I use
So,
mine for glue guns. I'll use it for glue guns, or like if I have an XT60, like I'll power goggles with it. Like
yeah.
it still holds a charge. It's great. It's not puffy.
Yeah.
These are awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Do you
fun.
guys remember the ParkZone commercial that played on TV?
No.
It had like it had the original yellow Haboo on it. And I just remember my brother and I, like every single time an airplane would come out, we'd watch the video. And I think my favorite ever ParkZone plane I ever owned was the Ultra Micro T-28.
Yeah.
That thing was, oh my gosh, it was just awesome because we could go out. My brother and I had one, and we'd fly them out in the front yard and
Yeah.
stuff free, and then you throw a baseball at them to try to get them down. And then this is back when you could go to a hobby shop, and then we lost our hobby shop, unfortunately. But that was the cool thing. The hobby shop would get all the new stuff, and it was like going to the toy store for me. But
Yeah, exactly. Super cool. Well, Patrick, the reason we wanted to have you on too is like a few weeks ago we had David was on the podcast, maybe a month ago. I can't remember when that was, but it was kind of neat to have. Not going to call him old, but somebody. David, if you watch this, all respect. It's nice to have somebody older on the podcast, but the reason for David was he's been in the hobby so long.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a long time, right? So it's kind of neat to have somebody that's been in the hobby for so long. And then we thought about having you on the podcast as well too, just because you're a bit of a younger generation. Like, you know, you're half my age, a little under half my age, and Anthony's very similar age to me. So it's kind of neat to talk to the young blood, if you want to call it that. So
yeah, no, for sure. I think it's definitely now at least the hobby is totally different. What's funny to me, I guess, is going through high school, you always get made fun of for flying RC airplanes. It's always you're a nerd.
I still get made fun of. I don't know what you're talking about. My friends still make fun of me.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But, it's funny, but I would have thought it would have been a little bit different now because with how easy it is to get into the hobby with a quality airplane. I mean, even just in the last 5 years, really, to be honest. I mean, because before then it was still. I mean, I started out with an Easy 2. It was still glow, and I was on 72 megahertz. So I caught the last tail end of the original, hobbyist, I guess, stuff that happened before. Now you can go get into it totally ready to go for 100 and $150, something like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Airplane radio, expo rates, all these things. Programming is crazy. But I guess when I first got into it, the whole glow thing. I mean, I only flew a glow airplane probably like 10 times before I was right away onto a T-28, and then it made it so much easier. But really, the biggest thing I think what it's going to hit on for everybody, at least nowadays, is the simulator. Being able to get a simulator on your laptop or computer and learn to fly and then go fly. I think that's why, I guess I don't want to say the competition or the skill set has gotten better. I think it has. I mean, if you go to events now, there's just world-class pilots everywhere you go. I mean, everywhere you go. On an average weekend, I'm here in Arizona, you'll go to Sun Valley, or Amps or Speed World, and there's always somebody who's just a phenomenal pilot, and it's kind of wild how many there are, I guess.
Yeah.
Versus I know back in the day there were few names that would kind of come to name. Rob Lynch and David Schulman and Pablo Fernandez and Bill Hempel, all those guys. And I think especially then too, not having the programming and all the things, it was probably a lot more difficult, I guess, to hone skill in versus now you can just hop on a simulator and go practice and crash as much as you want, out without having to break the bank. But no, it's
with
awesome.
With the simulator, like, do you set time aside every week to do it, or are you just like in your spare time you pick it up and do it? Is there a schedule for you?
I mean, not necessarily a schedule, I guess, but it's a rarity that I don't get on the simulator at least once a day.
Wow.
Whether it's only for a couple of 10, 15 minutes, or whether I'm on with buddies for hours.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it is literally my gaming system, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I don't have Xbox or anything, or PlayStation like that or anything. So that's kind of my enjoyment, I guess, is the simulator. And it's kind of funny because you go to clubs and people say, you must never fly the simulator anymore. That's like totally not true. Like, I'm constantly on the simulator, and I think people will think it's only used for learning how to fly, and then you can get off the simulator. But in reality, it's where you can go and fine tune your skill and hone them. And I mean, you look at the Bryant Max and Jace Ducia and all these guys who are just insane. They all say the same thing, that they're constantly on the simulator, always trying new stuff.
Yeah.
What you're mentioning the simulator a lot, and I know there's a couple of different ones, and I have probably one of the small ones that I play with on my computer from time to time, where I've been trying to. It's funny you were talking about your dad putting your fingers over your thumbsticks. Like, I do that to my kids now. Like, like I'll throw a pair of goggles on them, and then I hold the remote, launch the plane, and then I tell them, "All right, stand here," and I thumb over the thumbs. But what simulator are you using? Like, so everybody knows.
Yeah, I use Real Flight Evolution. It's pretty new. It came out within the last year or two, something like that.
Okay.
And it's basically the most up to date. It's from Horizon Hobby. Has all the Horizon Hobby airplanes on it. But then the thing that really is awesome now is you can go to Real Flight swap pages, and there's a bunch of aircraft on there that you can download. And there's a few guys who, because usually the airplanes that come stock on the simulator don't really fly very good or accurate to something in real life. So Dwayne Woods is like the main guy that does like a lot of the RC jets on Real Flight. He designs them and programs them and everything, and they fly just amazing. I mean, just phenomenal. And
so, do you have to pay for that, or is that just open source community sharing?
Totally just an open source community. You just have to make an account on Real Flight swap pages, and then you have to download the aircraft, and then once you have that, then you can you export it into the simulator, and it's really pretty simple to do, and then it's just pretty normal you can click on the airplane and it's ready to go. But trying to think if there's really any airplanes.
So do they fly? Because like I said, I don't play a lot. So when I first started flying like drones, I downloaded like the DRL simulator, right? Like for drone recently, and it's close to what flying a quadcopter is, but it's not. Like, a lot of the physics are a little off on it, right?
Yeah.
With these jet builds that you're talking about, is it truly close? Like, do you feel like it's close enough?
It genuinely feels really close. Like, in all honesty, I guess if I were to go like 2 years without flying in real life, but you could let me just fly on the simulator the whole time, and then come out the next, after 2 years or something and go fly, I genuinely don't think you would have a steep drop off of skill. Like, it would be very close.
That's pretty impressive.
You'd feel a little rusty, but I don't think it would be drastic.
Like the stock models to me always feel more floaty than they actually are in real life.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
kind of get rid of. I mean, there are a couple things like that I do to. If you're trying to learn a new maneuver on the simulator, it's kind of difficult, like at full speed right away, because you don't have the hand-eye coordination right away, or the muscle memory is not there at all. So what you can do is you can actually go into the physics on the simulator, and you can turn the physics down, and it doesn't put it in slow motion. It just it does. It kind of puts it in slow motion, but yet everything is still like the same responsiveness, if that makes sense, I guess. It just kind of slows the airplane down, and everything the airplane does is slower, but like your control inputs are still right away. So it allows you to do a maneuver at a slower rate of basically like gravity kind of doesn't feel like it exists, essentially.
Yeah.
while you're doing it. And so it just is really easy to learn that. And then you can slowly bump the physics speed up, and then you're back to normal on your maneuver. And you can, but usually, depending on how complex of a maneuver it is, it can take a month, to get fully honed in.
Wow.
Something new. I just started doing some 3D flying this year, and that's like a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
Everything's like, I'm used to flying jets where, the movements are super, super little, and you're supposed to be really smooth. Everything is gentle. And then you go fly a 3D plane, and your stick is hitting each corner of the radio, and you're blipping the throttle constantly. And, but it's definitely, I think it's super important. It's kind of funny because I just got into 3D this year, and I've gone to a couple 3D events, and you always hear those guys, complain, the jet guys only know how to go in circles. And then you go to a jet event, and you have all the guys saying, all those guys that just like to stick bang. And it's so funny because like the skill set of like 3D is insane, but then the skill set of jets to fly a jet at the same level is insane. And I think it's really important to actually like have both of those skills, because I've gotten into, sticky situations with my jet where I'm like, this is a weird attitude that you're not usually in with a jet, but you're right. Your mental processor is so much quicker because you've built those other skills from 3D. So they do coincide well together. Just to kind of
that's cool.
Processor up, I guess. But yeah.
That circles thing's pretty funny because I think, and especially at a field, right? Everybody's flying in circles. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like you go past, you spin back around.
Exactly, right.
It's worse when you go to an event, like when you go to Tucson, for example, and you're up with 3 other guys. It's like that's all you're doing is flying this racetrack constantly, right? So
or you don't, and then you get yelled at. No.
Yeah, exactly. You do a loop in the middle of your racetrack, where all the other 3 jets are, and you get yelled at. It's like, I knew where the other guys were. It's okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Pat, going back to what Jonathan was talking about with the hobby and your age set and everything like that, are you a rarity? Are flying jets? I guess you're a rarity for being so young flying jets, right? But is there more people your age that you're seeing coming into the hobby, especially at the jet level?
I think there's a lot. There's this kid that just came up to Speed World RC jet event, and it's Shane Roswell. But he came, and I'm gonna be wrong, but I believe it was 13. I think it was 13, and flying a jet, and I was like shocked. I mean, it just substantially better than I was at 13, and so he's gonna be insane. Same deal. And I fly the simulator with him once in a while. He's an insane pilot. There's a lot of guys genuinely my age that are just, it's kind of crazy how good they are. It's like, it's just kind of wild. And I think it really genuinely does come back to the simulator. Because that's kind of everybody my age that does fly RC and they're super passionate about it. Their gaming system is the simulator. They love it. So I think that really, it kind of really comes back to that. How many people are getting in the hobby? In my high school, there were literally 2. And that was
you and your brother?
No, well, my brother was gone, but it was actually my buddy Josh, my best friend.
Oh yeah.
And he and I were literally the only ones in a high school of 2,000 kids that flew RC airplanes.
Wow.
So I don't know necessarily how that is around the country.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as you would think. Oh my gosh, airplanes! Because I just went to a full scale air show, Luke Days here in Arizona, and there must have been 200,000 people there the day that we were there. Crazy, and a bunch of kids. They all look at the airplanes and they think it's so cool, and it just kind of blows my mind that they don't make the translation to, oh, I can actually play. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I fly a little bit of full scale, and if you were to ask me any day of the week what I would rather do, absolutely fly model airplanes. Full scale it's fun, but you go up there and you just cruise around, and it's not. I mean, there's a lot more of an adrenaline rush, in my opinion, flying RC airplanes.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think that's cooler.
Now, do you think it's lack of knowledge with the RC side?
It could be. It could be. There isn't like that's the thing is the marketing. I feel like is kind of still geared towards adults. Like these aren't toys for kids.
Right.
But also at the same point, you have companies like Spectrum who've made it so easy with safe technology that I don't know why it's not necessarily marketed more towards, hey, you're 7 or 8 years old. I mean, I know when I was 7 or 8, if you were to hand me a P-51 Mustang, that was, I don't know, 4 feet long and was done up beautiful, and for the price to get into it now too. I mean, I was happy when I got a plastic model that was this big, and it's probably about the same price. And so now it's just, I don't know. I hope it does make a trend to get more people in the hobby. The only thing that I've seen too going around I've been to so many more fields now that I've moved. You go to fields and you'll see, a family come out, and usually it's, a mom with the kids, and the kids come out, and usually, I mean, I don't want to stereotype at all, but you get the old grandpas who just, they don't want the younger kids there. You can tell that they're grumpy. They don't want, oh, we got little young kids coming in now.
Yeah.
This isn't a play place. And so I hate to say it, but yet in the same sentence complain how there's not enough youth that are in the hobby. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. I wish there were more programs in, I mean, you get clubs that are complaining about, what kind of brand of grass seed to put in when really you should take some of that money or something and invest in a few airplanes, and maybe invite some kids out from a school or something to, try to, really spark some interest for it if you really want to keep the hobby alive.
Agreed.
I think it's definitely a downtick from what it probably used to be. I don't know. I mean, Horizon Hobby must be making some awesome money still because they have a NASCAR that they sponsor. So it can't be that bad. So it's either a lot of old people that are still buying it, or there's maybe there is a younger generation that is really sparked into it. But I don't think it's as much as it used to be.
Well, I can definitely echo your stereotype there in your comments, because I feel exactly the same way. Obviously you guys have a different set of rules a little bit than us in Canada, but you see that up here as well too. We have that exact same experience sometimes at our fields, and the one that I fly at the most, we're very close to a road, so we have people coming constantly. If we're out there on a Friday or Saturday, we'll probably have 5 to 10 people, sometimes families, just show up, just drive in from the field. And at some of the clubs, not that one, we see that exact same thing. It's like, well, to get involved in the hobby, there's this, and then you got to buy this, and then you have to do this, and you go to apply for this. Like, rather than trying to sell these people on how crappy and difficult getting in the hobby is, maybe put them on a buddy box and just, get them up there for the first time.
Right.
So,
You guys still have it easier though, because like he was just preaching to the choir about the whole. I have the biggest issue with, I've said this before, with flying FPV at the clubs.
Yeah.
It's like, taboo. Like I can't join any clubs because I only fly FPV.
Well, you guys are the black sheep. You're ruining everything for everybody. So.
Right. I can't fly line of sight anymore though. Like I can't. I lose orientation like super fast. I try all the time. Like I'll pop up my goggles and I'll try. And as soon as I start getting to a point where I'm starting to lose orientation, I'm like, which way is it? I'll throw my goggles back down. But
that's so weird. That's so backwards for me.
It's so bad. It's so bad because, I've had a couple of situations where, I've lost video feed, VTX overheats or something like that. And I'll be able to squeak it down far away for a landing. But what you're talking about with the hobby and everything, it's like, a lot of people, from what I am seeing from my end of the hobby, what I'm seeing is a lot of guys who started out with the FPV or the DJI craze are now getting into fixed wing,
Yeah.
right? And some of them are starting to take off the goggles and go fixed wing line of sight, right? And some of them are going fixed wing with the goggles on. And then that's that transition that I'm starting to see. And there isn't a lot of it, but a lot more of it's starting to happen, right?
Yeah, that's good.
And for the hobby, and especially for these clubs and stuff, like you should be welcoming these members,
Absolutely.
these guys in instead of turning them away. With my goggles on, I feel like I'm almost safer because I see in the plane where the group of people are. I see where I'm inside the plane, where the runway is. I can land where I want to land. You know what I mean? Like I can avoid the danger because I'm inside the plane.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's almost safer than having somebody who's newer, kind of starting out, just, you know what I mean, flying without a buddy box, you know, learning on their own. But
and I think the FPV market has helped the hobby genuinely, because I should say there were a lot of kids in my high school that flew FPV drones and they thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, they'd try to come to the field or something and they'd get turned away. When in reality, you know, that might, like you said, spark them to then try to go fixed wing or try to do, you know, something. And because, you know, it's just funny to me that they're so eager to try to build the hobby, and they'll complain about there's nobody new in the hobby. And then in this sentence, oh, yeah, get nice.
Exactly. And I'm a kind of a rarity because I don't really fly. So like when I go flying now, I'll bring an FPV quadcopter with me and I'll use that as like a couple of warm-up packs just to kind of get warmed up and into flying. But then everything else is fixed wing for me. I love planes. Like my first FPV plane I flew, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm just cruising around, I'm floating, you know, it's a lot more fun for me. I like it.
That's
and
cool.
everything I have now is fixed wing. So like I'm your typical RC airplane guy. The only difference is I have a camera on all my stuff that I fly with. You know, that is the main difference. I can land on a runway, I can bring my gear up and down. I have a little alarm on my remote that says gear up, gear down. You know, it's all the same. It's just literally there's a camera on the front.
Exactly.
Is the only difference.
It's funny too, because you know, it's the favorite thing that everybody says about FPV is, oh, you know, everybody gets a drone and then flies it over some house to spy on people. I mean, it happens. I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen.
Yeah, of course.
But like the percentage of that happening usually is so low.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just instantly gonna jump on the worst thing. You know, I don't know. I mean, if we're gonna talk about that, then we can talk about how guys are taking airplanes and running them into people's houses and getting lost. It's just kind of it's funny how cliquey I think all the groups are, when in reality,
it really is.
It's all the same guy. You know, everybody has the same interests basically.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We're all RC aviation. We should all be like trying to help each other further the hobby, but instead it's super cliquey. Yes. We've had comments on the podcast. You know, we had a comment about I deleted the comment because it just frustrated me. But it was a shot at Jonathan. You know, no wonder why there's only so many views. Nobody wants to watch these rich jet guys anymore. So I just get out of here. Another comment.
Thanks, Anthony.
Another comment was FPV's ruining the hobby. I think I commented back on that one. Like, come on, dude. Because with everything going on right now, with all the regulation and this is everywhere, like we all should be banding together and trying to push the hobby forward. Trying to take out little segments of it. Like,
we have enough problems with the government trying to shut us down.
Right.
We don't need people within trying to shut us down as well.
Right. I still think right now there's a bunch of fields that still haven't gotten their FRIA status yet.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going into flying season now, and there's 1,000 fields that don't have FRIA status yet. So what? You can't fly now because your field isn't a FRIA. Like, we need to work together and stop being all cliquey.
We went through that in Montana and here at my home field in Arizona. You know, going through it with they didn't accept our FRIA, and then you know they extended the time frame. I think they did like 2 or 3 extensions of when you had to have a FRIA, and if you didn't, then you had to fly with the little transponder thing. And don't even get started on the transponder. Gosh, and then you get the guys. We had guys that were coming out to our field with a FRIA, and they were trying to, they were playing with the transponder, and they're like, "Look at how fast we got with our airplane." And then, in the same breath, some of these guys that have, hit backstabbers at the field a little bit, then they come over and try to be your buddy, and they're like, "Let's put it in your plane and see." And I'm like, if I go 401 feet, I'm gonna get a ticket in the mail.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And the funny thing too is, it's I don't think anybody would really. I don't know if anybody monitors it or whatever. I don't even know how it works. But the problem is somebody can just look on their Bluetooth app, and it's going to be somebody within the club that looks up and if you're flying a jet and you go over 200 miles an hour, oh my gosh,
right.
Right. Then they're going to call the AMA and then get the FAA, and then you're going to kick me out of the club, and then they're going to take your FRIA away. And it's kind of funny. It's like, you guys are going to destroy it unless, yourselves, versus if you just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And don't run
you're gonna shut down the entire club because of your actions.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be logged right now. But I've read some stuff, and me and John are talking about this. We're not going to dive too deep into this because we're going to do an episode a couple of weeks. We're going to do an episode on this regulation stuff, because I think it's important for people who aren't up to date on it to get some regulation on it. But we're going to do a deep dive in a couple episodes. He's going to do Canada. I'm going to do United States and kind of what's going on in the UK with the regulations. Yeah. But right now, they're not supposed to track. Like, it's not supposed to. Your flight isn't supposed to stay logged anywhere for somebody to historically look at right now.
Okay.
Right. So it would be like real time. But in the future, there probably will be a log of your flight, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of algorithm that could read that you went 401 feet. And then what's to say the sensor's super accurate? What if you were at 398, right? And
that's
GPS.
It's funny you say that, because we bought a GPS. I don't even know. It was maybe from Horizon Hobby or Motion RC. I couldn't remember, but we put a GPS in one of our jets, and we've radar gunned the jet before, and it's barely over 200 miles an hour, if that, maybe. And we put this GPS in, and it was saying that we were going like 427 miles an hour. And now that's our joke, is we have like one of the fastest jets on the planet, but not even
new world record.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And
right.
I do have jets that I fly, fast, and if I make a pass and I accidentally go over 200 miles an hour, which, hate to break it to everybody, everybody's going over 200 miles an hour, but nobody wants to, if they like to pick out one guy for going too fast.
Yeah.
But
right.
If we were to put GPSs in everybody's airplanes, there would be speeding tickets going out to everybody. And, it's just kind of funny though, but I don't know. It's kind of weird, because if you look also, in the United States, I guess, we have a carve out at the Part 107 that we have to follow, and it falls under like an advisory circular. So I'm kind of confused. I've tried to get to the bottom of it. If I were to get caught going over 200 miles an hour, going above 400 feet, is it an actual law that I could go to prison for? And I don't think it is. It has
I think it's just a fine.
It's just
Are you 107?
What's up?
Are you 107? You have a 107?
No. We just fall in the RC hobby. We fall under the Part 107 carve out.
Right.
One of the things that we have to follow is a community organization based guidelines, and for us that's the AMA. And so, but in the FAR AIM, that's just an advisory circular, and basically an advisory circular has all the power of nothing. I mean, it's just an advisory. It's not it's not a regulation.
Right.
So it's a little confusing that I'm kind of questioning. I'm like, okay, it's an advisory that I have to follow these guidelines that AMA tell me that I have to follow.
Right.
But it's not a rule.
But it's not a rule, exactly. So am I allowed to go above 400 and go over 200? But it's such a gray area, and I've called the AMA, and they don't give you a straight answer. They just say, they just say follow our guidelines. So I don't know. I mean, we were kind of talking about it the other day. There's guys that go out to the dry lake bed fly.
Yeah.
A couple of them don't have turbine waivers, and we're trying to figure out, can you fly if you're not at an AMA sanctioned field, can you fly without a turbine waiver? And a couple of these guys are like, oh yeah, it's no problem. And I'm like, okay, well then go over 200 miles an hour and over 400 feet. And I don't think you can, because I remember back in the day, David Schulman was trying to do some speed break the speed record or something with a Firebird, and I think he ended up going to Canada or somewhere overseas to do it because they determined it was not legal to do it in the States, even on a dry lake bed, on because you're flying in the airspace, you're not flying, it's not
on the ground.
So I'm not sure, it's all gray area. I would love to watch that podcast that you guys.
Yeah, we got to do the legwork first.
That's funny.
We got to do the legwork to get it. We want to get it right too. So I mean,
it's confusing because there's so many things that this is an advisory. This is a.
But I think it's honestly, I think it's purposely confusing, to be honest with you, because I think they hamstring the thing together. I don't think they were necessarily prepared, and this is Canada, US, UK.
Right.
I think that they were just under pressure to get something done and out. That they're kind of figuring it out as they go along. I don't think they have all the answers either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, if you were to call the FAA and try and speak to somebody who's an expert on all this stuff, I don't think they would have all the answers.
No, and they don't actually. It's kind of funny you say that because my buddy Addison did contact the FAA, and we literally, because we were trying to, we built a couple fast jets, and we want to fly them fast. And we tried to get to the bottom. Can we fly them fast? Because the 200 mile an hour speed limit is the one that just makes us mad, because everybody else can go 200 miles an hour. If you have an EDF or if you have an electric, they go 200. It's totally legal. It has to stay under 200. It doesn't make any sense. And what's the difference if you get hit by a 200 mile an hour jet or a 400 mile an hour jet? You're gonna be dead either. And it just doesn't make sense, I guess, why they put that one rule just for turbine jets. And the funny thing is every turbine jet can go 200.
Yeah.
For the most part. And then you get the guys that say, oh well, then if everybody's allowed to go fast, then they're gonna have mishaps like crazy. And I mean, I would argue that it's not going to be the case. I mean, in Montana, we used to not even have speed limits. At all, and it was self-regulated. Nobody goes crazy, and I don't. It takes a lot to get grossly over 200 miles an hour, so it's self-regulated. I don't think the numbers would change at all. It's annoying that every time I go a little too fast, I feel like now I'm breaking the law, and then people get mad. But yet everybody else, as long as you don't fly turbine, you can go over 200.
John, do you have that in Canada too? You can't break 200?
We don't have a speed limit here in Canada.
Nice.
So one thing we do have, though, is if you're trying to set a record. So if we were trying to set the fastest jet record, we're actually not allowed to do that. But we don't have a speed limit. So you can go any speed you want.
That kind of doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make sense. But
it just can't be a record attempt.
So what happens if you accidentally go as fast as you want and then end up breaking a record?
Wow.
It's just ridiculous.
Like you said, the gray area.
Right. That's a big gray area.
It'd be a lot of fun to have a couple super bandits up here in Canada at one of our fields where we're pretty much free to do what we want. So
You guys have altitude restrictions in Canada?
We do. We used to have no altitude restriction, which was cool because I loved going up until I couldn't see my plane anymore. And then maybe 4 years ago, we had a 700-foot altitude restriction, which pissed people off. Now we've got 400 feet. They're working on getting it raised, but every flight we do is always under 400 feet. It never goes over 400. So
it should be raised for at least FRIAs or whatever your sites are called in Canada, right? Because they can easily put that on an air map that this is a flying field with an elevation ceiling of so planes and manned aircraft know that, hey, there's a possibility if I fly over this flying field, I'm going to fly into a RC jet that's doing 200 miles per hour or more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to encourage people to break the rules, but I think there's two different classes of people that are out flying, and I guess three is a better way to say it. So you have the people that just go out flying and do their thing, which is awesome. You've got the guys that are so worried about going over 400 feet and more worried about everybody else that's going over 400 feet, that it absolutely can ruin the hobby for them and also ruin the hobby for everybody else.
Yes.
And then you've got the class of people that fly IMAC and fly gliders and slope soaring and stuff. And it's really hurt those guys probably the most.
Yes.
I think the slope soaring guys specifically, IMAC's a huge one as well too. So, those guys have a valid concern.
Yeah.
But in general, we go out to our field, we fly, we go to an event, we fly, we have fun, and nobody complains about anything. And the world continues to turn, and everybody's safe and happy and goes home at the end of the night. So
that's it. Live and let live.
Well, and that's the thing too. At every event you go to or field, anytime a full scale flight over, there's always people yelling full scale.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody gets down right away.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a problem, I guess.
The greatest example I've seen to date for me is when in October, I went to Apollo Field and I was flying with David and Coco. And there is an airport right beside that field. And it is so well organized when you're flying with guys. So, like David was flying, Coco was spotting for him, I was videoing it, and, a plane just took off, and they're little planes, so they're really low. And the communication is just there, right? It's like, okay, take off. All right, you got a full scale. It comes down. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Yep. Exactly.
I got a couple questions for you.
All righty.
So, have you tried FPV yourself?
I have.
Okay. What'd you think?
A little bit. I think it's actually really, really cool. So the funny is you're gonna laugh because it's not high quality FPV whatsoever. But I had a Hubsan QX4.
Okay.
Is that am I right there? Is that the
name? Yeah. That was one of the earlier models.
Yes, with that. And does it have 5.8 on the for the? I bought that instead of what was the other one? There's a black brand. I can't remember the other brand, but it was Wi-Fi. And I watched a video. It was Flight Test actually that put the video out on the two different ones. That one was always cutting out and everything. So I bought this one that had 5.8. It was the Hubsan, and that thing. Oh my gosh, I had a blast. Sitting in my basement and flying it all through the entire house. And that thing was a blast. And that's really been my only amount of FPV experience. A couple times at the field, a guy. Oh, you know what? I'm totally lying. I forgot. A guy. We went boating and we were sitting on his boat, and he had a quadcopter, and it just had a joystick like this that you hold. You'll know what it is. I don't know if you know it.
I know the DJI products come out with the joystick. Right.
Yes, joystick, and it was like full on. It felt like you're flying a fighter jet.
Yeah.
And we were flying between the canyon and flying, a mile away, and it was so cool going through the canyon and that was really cool. I've never flown fixed wing FPV, but I think that would be super, super cool.
It's a different perspective. So it's, for me, I kind of like just getting up high and just kind of chilling, like just looking around the world and just looking at different things. And, sometimes I'll fly fast and do loops and rolls and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I just enjoy being up and it's almost like being like a bird almost and just cruising around. It's a different perspective. With the FPV quadcopters, that's kind of like the purpose is like you're kind of like diving through trees and stuff like that. But with the fixed wing, you're able to go for a nice, there's people online who do, their whole purpose is long range FPV.
Oh,
and
yes.
They'll blast down a coastline that's like 40, 50 miles, like legit. And they'll just fly an entire coastline, and come back in a 2-3 hour flight. And,
wow.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And they're just taking in the scenery and just
chilling,
just having a good time, Obviously, you need a little bit more specialized equipment for that. It gets a little bit more expensive because you're getting into bigger antennas and all that stuff.
Sure.
There isn't a lot of that here in the States because of all the rules, but you see a lot of it from different countries, where they're just blasting for, 2 hours down a coast. It's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Second question is, and I ask everybody this, how many planes do you have?
Currently, or just have had?
Jets, planes, what do you got?
Currently.
Currently, I have 2 Bandits, an Ultra Bandit, a F-16, an Extreme Flight Slick, and a Extreme Flight Extra NG.
F-16 turbo?
Yep, yeah, Turbine F-16. It's the BVM 1/6 scale, done up in the Thunderbird scheme. That thing flies really, really well. It flies like a sport jet, basically. It's like probably the one military jet that flies like a sport jet completely. You can pull on it, and it's crazy. It's such a cool airplane.
So both of your jets are BVMs then?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Jonathan loves building those things.
I love building everything.
Did you say we were just in Tucson, and I think Jonathan was saying that, yeah, if I had to do full builds, or for those that are listening, assemble.
Yeah.
Assembly or build. If you had to build airplanes that in depth and crazy that you just couldn't do it.
No, kit builds now. Like, I actually had a friend come over and pick up some parts this afternoon, and he hasn't been to the shop yet since we moved in here, and he saw the T-33 and he's like, "What is this thing?" I gave him the story. I'm like, "I'm a little kitted out right now, so it's kind of on the back burner for a little while after that BVM Super Bandit." So
I bet, yeah. And that T-33, you have to glass the wings and everything, correct?
Yeah, and the wings are the next step, and the wings are probably overall the biggest step because there's so much to do on the wings. So yeah, I've kind of been dreading even starting on anything with the wings.
Do those have a foam core in them? Is that the original?
Yeah, wow. The original wings. You got to do the cutouts for the you got to do the flat kit. You've got to do the gear cutouts, which I've done. You have to do the reinforcing spar, and then you've got to do the tip tanks. Yeah, there's a lot of steps to it. So
and then you got to glass it, sand it, prime it, the whole thing.
And then rivet it all. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's not going to be ready for Montana Jets. So
we're going to talk him into flight metal in it. That was what we told him.
What's flight metal? Was that like
flight metal's like you know the aluminum tape, like actual duct tape?
Yeah.
So it's basically like putting aluminum tape on the aircraft.
Okay.
But if you screw it up, you got to peel it off and start over again. And it's basically you can spend it. This is the way your dad explained it to me, Patrick. You can spend an entire evening getting a playing card size piece installed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny.
So yeah, it's not getting flight metaled.
Wow.
There's actually an airplane sitting right in front of me here that my dad flight metaled, and it's
Which one is it?
Yeah, the F4.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
How many planes does your dad have?
Oh gosh.
That's a good
answer.
He just got his Ultra Bandit, right?
Yeah, he got 2 Ultra Bandits. So now he got a classic and he got the new Evo.
Yeah.
The classic he got was Bob Violet's actual personal classic.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
That one's really special to him. I'm not even sure if he's gonna fly it. Just rub it with a diaper. But I think he's got it finished pretty much. I think he got all excited. And now he's starting on his Evo.
Is he going to watch this? Just curious. Is he going to watch this after that diaper comment?
Probably watch it.
Oh yeah, he'll be watching this for sure. I think he's got 2 F-16s, 2 F-18s, 2 Ultra Bandit. He's got everything in 2s apparently.
Yeah.
The left one and the right one.
Yeah, exactly. Got an old Top Flight B25 and a Corsair. His shop's it's full. I don't even know.
The B25 is gas or electric?
It's actually glow. It's never flown. It's been our hangar queen. I think we got it back in. Oh gosh, maybe
That's a good sized plane.
Yeah, it's decent. It's the original Top Flight one.
Yeah, I know the model. It's a good sized plane.
Yeah,
they had one at the swap meet that I was recently at.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. There was actually a couple. That's the one thing. So, you don't know a lot about me, but I recently got into the entrepreneurship side of the hobby. Like I've been selling.
Oh wow.
And I've been going to some swap meets to promote and sell planes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that baffles me at some of these swap meets is the amount of high quality scratch built planes that you can find at a swap meet for a really, really good price.
Oh,
like I'm talking like a plane that cost somebody. There was a plane, and I forgot what it was, but it was huge. Had a brand new gas motor on it with a gear drive, like super nice setup, right? Beautiful. And the guy wanted like $800 for it, and like the motor was worth more than that. Like you get what I'm saying? Like, and it was just all nicely built, beautiful, and they're everywhere. There's so many of those planes at these swap meets, and they're people letting them go for $400 or $500, $800, and it's like they're just like, I don't fly it anymore. I've moved on to 4 other planes and need space in the hangar. I just want somebody else to enjoy it. So I came across a couple of B25s like that. Just really nice scratch built one-off planes that you don't really see all over these swap meets. I mean, you can find pretty much anything. Actually, there was a turbine. Somebody scooped it up. I forgot what model it was. It was, I think it was an F-18. And the guy actually just made a deal. It was originally all assembled. And the guy made a deal with one guy to buy the airframe and then another deal with another guy to buy the turbine out of it. And I mean, one guy said he paid like, I don't know, something. It was like $600 for the airframe. And it was a complete airframe with servos, landing gear, like ridiculous. It was a newer model. It wasn't like an older model. Wow. A lot of people are just like, you know what? It's not doing me any good just sitting in my house, and I have 30 other planes, and I just want to recycle and get new planes, and this will just help me get to that goal. So it's one of the cool things about going to swap meets. That, and another cool thing about going to the swap meets is one of the things I actually enjoy is Patrick's gone. You there? There he is.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Do not disturb. Got him. You back?
Sometimes what I have happen on my iPhone is if I do something, I've got to log out and log back in to make it work.
I'll pause it real quick. So what I was saying is another thing that I noticed at these swap meets and these shows is one of the things I really enjoy is there's a lot of like older gentlemen who are like super craftsmen and like super detailed, and then just talking to them about like the stuff they did, like, and how they come about like making these planes like look super awesome in scale. I told you about that one guy that machined tiny little rivets.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of guys out there that are like that built 20, 30 years ago when they didn't have all the stuff that we have now, 3D printers and stuff, and they made their own cockpits, and like it's wild. Like one guy used like the lens for a watch is like a gauge, and then he put like like crazy stuff like that, but it looks like super legit. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff. It's cool talking to a lot of those older guys from the hobby. I enjoy it. That's one of the things I enjoy about the swap meet.
Yeah.
So I've been trying at these swap meets to. I told you about the helicopter kick, right? My wife doesn't know about it yet, and she'll I want to put an FPV setup in a helicopter, and I'm like, listen, if I can fly drones, I can fly a helicopter. It's pretty much the same controls.
Now, except it doesn't self self-sit there.
So I have these planes now at my booths and stuff. So now when I see a helicopter that I might be interested in, I walk over to the table. I'm like, hey, cover my table real quick. I think I see a helicopter over there. I'm like, God, I really don't want to lay anything out because these helicopters are expensive. They're, even used, they're $500-600. They're not like cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my table's over there. Swing by if you want to make a trade. See anything you like, and come home with a helicopter. I really want to put an FPV setup in a helicopter, like full on, like, Vietnam era or even World War II, like helicopter body with the camera inside. Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't had any luck yet. Everybody wants a lot for their helicopters.
Yeah,
They're expensive.
they are.
They're expensive. I've tried to think about how I could make one and 3D print a mechanism or something. It's just not going to work. I have to
Just
get a
buy one.
I know.
Not worth it.
I can't do it right now. My wife will literally divorce me. It's close. It's
close.
Yeah. You saw what I have going on. Well, you can see behind me. So I asked the airplane question because in the beginning of this whole podcast thing, Jonathan didn't understand how I could have 50-something planes or 40-something planes.
Oh.
And now that I'm, selling them too, like I have stuff everywhere. There's just boxes and planes and there's just stuff everywhere. So these are
I've
small collection.
To reinforce what I tell you, my BDX is ready. It's out of paint now and everything, and I sold my Kinetics today. So you got to make room for the BDX. So the Kinetics is now gone. Well, it's not gone yet. It'll be shipped out beginning of April. So I can't have more than a few jets.
That's so quick.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Because you posted that the other day, right? That you were
the day we got back
contemplating.
I was contemplating. I put that post on Facebook, and I got 3 messages the same day, and then one of them solidified. So,
wow, that BDX is gorgeous, though. I only saw the tail of it.
That looks
I'm
really
super jealous. That plane looks really, really nice.
Thank you. I haven't seen pictures yet of the rest of it. Pablo said he was going to send them to me, so I'm waiting for that. But it's going to look really good.
Yeah, they're pumping out some gorgeous planes. They're making some really nice stuff.
Yeah,
really nice stuff. It's almost like candy. Like it's just really nice.
Literally.
When you watch some of these guys fly the BDX specifically, well, there's a lot of elite aerosports planes that are strong, but like the BDX pulling on these things, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It'll take about
So that's like the new hot model now, the BDX. That's the top king right now in the jet world. Like,
there's lots of them. The BDX has been out now for coming up on 3 years, right? So it's I just have loved it since I saw it at Kentucky Jets, and this is the last plane from my Kentucky Jets trip that I haven't owned yet that I wanted to own. So now all of my planes that I saw at Kentucky Jets are now done. So
yeah. It's gonna be nice to see that whole plane. That thing looks out of this world. They did.
I'm excited for it.
The scheme is just so legit. It's
the
colors match. Yeah, dude, that's a nice plane. That's gonna be a showstopper. You gotta be excited about that one.
I am very excited about it.
Yeah.
What's the next prop airplane, Jonathan?
Prop?
Yeah, I know. What's that?
I don't know. You want to buy my AeroWorks Yak 55? I never fly my prop airplanes. That's my problem. Is like my Taylor Craft hasn't flown, and now it'll be 3 years.
Wow.
My AeroWorks Yak 55. It sits up in the mezzanine. Haven't flown that at all last year. So, meh.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it. And my wife is like really hating the fact that we do this podcast together because it started to happen before the podcast, but I started to leaning away from like the prop planes into more EDFs. And some of my favorite planes to fly are like my EDF jets with the FPV setups on them. And I just love flying over my head, being in the cockpit, and like being like Tom Cruise, Maverick, in a little RC jet, right? And I see jets, and I get so excited now. And I see the jets, and I'm like so excited to fly my jets. And then the prop planes are like, and she knows it's just a matter.
It's okay, Anthony. I get so much blame from many wives, so it's okay. I'm ready for it.
It's a matter of time. I need the space. If I lived where Patrick lived, I'd be all about it.
So Patrick, what's speaking of living, what's up in your future? Are you sticking around in Tucson or Arizona for a while? Are you moving somewhere else? Moving back to Montana? What's going on with you?
No, it's funny you say that. Yeah, so I've kind of been all over the place right now. Originally came down here and joined Air Force ROTC. Really wanted to be a fighter pilot. That was the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I had a heart murmur, which then disqualified me from that. So
when you were young, right? Not
correct.
Recently.
Correct,
yeah.
Not recently. So I ended up leaving that program, and then I've been just working on my ratings to go commercial aviation, and hopefully aspire to go to the airlines. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was approached at the local model airplane field by a guy who flies. It's funny, they're actually CARF models. They're a Rebel Max. It's like the biggest. I think it's probably like the biggest RC jet you can get. Probably one.
Yeah.
But it's a UAV version. They weigh a lot. They're like 120 pounds. And he said, "Yeah, we're looking for guys for this company and everything." And so I think my name got thrown in the hat, and I'm bridging the gap right now, trying to get into that job. I don't want to say too much, I guess, right off the bat. Hoping to go down to Florida in a couple of weeks to check out the facility and a couple things, and super anxious for that. So it's funny you say FPV and stuff. Have you ever done any? And it's funny because this is going to be more external, so I'm actually flying still with like just a normal RC radio.
Right.
I think it's actually FR Sky brand or Free Sky.
What do you fly? That brings up a good point. What do you fly, Jetty? JR?
I fly JR.
Are you sponsored by JR?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jonathan loves JR. No, I'm just kidding. No, and that's the thing that we were talking about actually down in Tucson is, everybody gets so wrapped around the axle about what brand you fly and this and that and what turbine you use, and in the end you just do what makes you happy,
right?
And that's whether you have failures or not, or however you want to justify it. Usually, if you tell somebody to do something, they don't have a come to Jesus moment and they switch. Usually, get mad about it.
I'm actually an FR Sky guy.
Okay. Oh, you are. Oh,
yeah. Cool. I'm an FR Sky guy. I'm an FR Sky dealer too. So.
Oh wow!
I'm glad that you're going to be flying one of our radios. Down in Florida.
And to me, I mean, knock on wood, I've never seen an FR Sky failure at the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny because then it's kind of a little mind-boggling because they're definitely cheaper than some of these get into. An average high-quality radio from like JR, Jetty, upper $1,000 range.
Right.
$1,900 to $2,000 for one of the best radios. And then you get then you throw FR Sky in there, and they're $600 for basically a radio that'll do just about everything. Well, I think, to be honest, I think there's even more programmability in a Free Sky than probably a JR or a Spectrum. There's a ton of programmability.
In the new X20 Pro, actually, they just came out with, for the jet guys, they came out with the X20 Global Jets Edition.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a really nice radio. It's not cheap. It's $1,000 radio. It's not,
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bit over $1,000. It's a nice radio.
Yeah.
But they've come a long way.
The only thing I wish is they would change their shape of the radio.
I do agree. It does sit too close to my body. I like it feels like my hands are almost touching my belly.
Yeah.
If it was a little bit taller, that would
like a traditional shape, right? Like traditional size. Yeah.
Right. I fly pinch, kind of a hybrid. I fly thumb on the left hand and pinch on the right hand. And flying pinch, your hands are kind of pushed back more versus, with two.
We're not laughing at you, Patrick.
Sorry. The iPhones do something funny when you give a thumbs up like this.
Oh, it did the It did the
Did a
thumbs
little
up.
bubble.
Oh, that's funny. I'm like, I don't know why that's no.
So we did that for an intro video, and at the end of the video, Jonathan did like 2 thumbs up, and all of a sudden there was fireworks everywhere.
There you go. I forgot what I did to make that happen. That's hilarious.
That's funny.
So you just did that. We saw the little bubbles pop out. It's funny.
Sorry.
That's hilarious. That's
Yeah,
too
it's
funny.
funny stuff, dude.
That's
I
funny.
distracted you. You fly hybrid, 1 thumb, 1 pinch, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Most people either fly thumbs or pinches.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And then, oh gosh, it's funny how controversial the RC hobby is. You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you have to fly thumbs, you have to fly pinch, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Well, even so, when you're talking about being in passions and stuff like that, when I was down in Tucson, like I actually had people that were concerned because I'm a Swiwin dealer and I put a Zykoy engine in my plane. Like they were genuinely concerned that I had a Zykoy engine in my plane. And I'm like, who cares? Like, does it really matter? I can still sell a Swiwin, and if you really want a Zykoy engine, I can order you a Zykoy engine. So
that's
like,
what I told you too. Is at Tucson is like, you know, I just don't care what other people use or run.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I use what I use. I'm happy. Other people use what they are happy. I don't.
That's it.
You know,
That's all it comes down to.
You know, if I have a problem with something and I wanted to make a switch, which I have. I mean, we all have. We've all had problems, and we go, "Oh, I'm not doing that again." And you try to, you know, you kind of be the miniature NTSB when you have a problem, and try to be the most educated, you know, guess, I guess you could say, or you know, to move to a different, you know, radio brand or turbine brand or airplane company or whatever it is.
Right.
And I don't know. It's funny. I mean, there's ones that you see that are usually worse than others. That I mean, it's common, but it's not. Again, I don't care enough to care what if somebody wants to ask, I'll have an opinion about it, but I won't go out of my way to change somebody. I guess
It's individual trial and error.
it really is. Yeah.
That's all it is. It's this is what I picked up. This is what I went through. This is what I found. This is what works good for me. This is what I like, and that's for everybody. There's, you know, and yeah.
So Patrick, I've got an interesting question for you. At least for me, it's interesting.
Okay.
If you had, let's just say, $25,000 sitting in your bank account right now.
Okay.
And you had to buy a new jet. Not that you need to spend the full amount, but let's say if an unlimited budget, what's your next jet? Or what would you buy if you had the money sitting there?
I think you probably know this answer, and it's going to be so stupid. Can I buy 2 jets?
Sure, 2 jets.
Okay. I really would want another Ultra Bandit Classic. It's just my favorite jet. I
It's kind of a lame answer.
I know. I knew it was going to be a lame answer.
Let me rephrase my question. You can buy 1 or 2 jets, but they can't be a jet you already own.
That I already own. Oh, okay.
Because then you're just going to tell me you want another BVM F-16 or something. You want the same. You just want to be like your dad and have 2 of everything.
Yeah, 2 of everything. What I really, really would love to have, and it's so hard to get anymore. I'd have to buy my dad's, but it's in a kit form, and then I'd have to send it to you to build. Not even that. It could be a Skymaster, or what I'd really like is the new Carf. But anyways, F4 Phantom.
Yeah. Cool.
Really want an F4 Phantom, the John Wayne of airplanes. I had the free wing one, and it flew like a sport jet. They're a missile. I don't know. And then they just look mean. They just look so killer and mean. But yeah, that would probably be it. The Carf F4 looks just the size thing. I mean, it just looks just beautiful.
I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that in person. That's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal.
So
definitely an F4 Phantom would probably be. I don't know. It would be cool to have one of the classic old ones.
Yeah.
Built just kind of wild. And I mean, Jonathan knows this, but like my favorite thing is speed. I love speed. My stick on a switch. It's on, full, and off.
Seriously?
No, not that, but basically,
Pretty much.
Wait a
throttle
second.
lift, the throttle lift's pretty much wide open.
Wow.
And it's a little funny, the trend now, back in the day, the ducted fan days, they would take a jet up and dive it from 2,000 feet and get 250 miles an hour, and everybody was about speed. Everybody. I mean, Bob Violet back in the day had a book called The Inlet, and it was literally about how he would shape the intakes to get more speed out of his airplanes and the airfoil, and everybody was trying to go as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's how big and how slow can we go?
Yeah.
There's like rarely, because it's funny, you'll see an airplane. I don't know what a good example. Some guy will bring out an airplane and they'll go, this thing is a rocket, and it's like there's such a difference of like the speed back in the day to the speed now. Like I get in trouble with Bandit, my small little blue Bandit that my dad built in 1996. It's never gotten a mile an hour faster ever. Like it's the same speed it's been since the day it was built, and now people think it's just crazy and radical and stupid. But back in the day, it was just average. It was just normal. It was just a totally.
Well, I'll tell you the difference when you're flying that thing. When you're doing 190 miles an hour and you're 1 foot over the runway, it looks a lot faster than when you're 30 feet up. So
It does. It does add a little bit of a perception of it looks like it's going faster.
yeah.
And that's the other thing is, I mean, when I said earlier that everybody gets to 200 with certain airplanes, but there's a lot that not even close. Everybody thinks if you have a turbine, it'll go 200, and I'm like,
if you take a Rebel Max as an example with like a 240 in there, it is a slow plane.
Absolutely.
Right?
You could put a 400 in a Rebel Max, and it's not going to be 100 miles an hour.
No.
Like the airframe, but that's not what it was built to do either.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it flies amazing. I mean, the Rebel Max is insane. All these new big airplanes that fly slow, they all fly.
Yeah.
They fly amazing. And when I say slow, I'm not saying slow. I mean, they're still doing 100 miles an hour. Just compared to
it's all relative. Yeah.
It's all relative compared to the old days when the normal was 230, 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But it was legal because it was ducted fan. It wasn't turbine.
Yeah.
John, same question to you then, because we haven't done this exercise yet. I don't need 25 grand. Like for me, $1,000 would be like it. So for you, what would you? I mean, you've had a bunch of really nice planes. Like you've had a couple of your dream planes, right? So far.
Yeah, I mean, I say this often. I'm a little bit complacent because I see so many planes come through the shop. I mean, you look at the past 2 years, and we've had over 50 planes come through the shop. So I get to see a lot of planes. Still on the top of my list is a big F-16, kind of like what I'm working on right now. It's right behind you guys, like Coco's Skymaster F-16 with the 400 in there. I wouldn't put a 400 in it, but a big F-16 I think would be a cool dream plane for me for sure.
Nice.
You ought to look at that. Did you see the who makes it? Oh, Tomahawk Aviation, the quarter scale.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to see.
Well, Skymaster's doing a big one as well too.
Oh, that's
so they're
right.
doing a quarter scale. Yeah.
They probably
that'd be really cool. That'd be a nice plane.
What's the scale you're working on? 1/5?
So the one I'm working on right now and the BVM Venom one that I finished, they're both 1/5 scales. They're a little different 1/5s, but yeah, 1/5 scale. But the F-16 is kind of a smaller plane, like a 1/5 scale F-16. It's big, but like when it's sitting beside the F-14 XL, it's not big at all. But a quarter scale F-16 would be really cool. Yeah. That would be a nice flyer.
Oh,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
With a 400 in it.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, John, I know you had a lot of craziness going on. You had that show down at Tucson Jets, right? That's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
you had like a bunch of planes that you had to get done. How'd you end up doing?
Good. It was pretty stressful. Basically, one of the Rebel Classics that I needed to get done, I pretty much got it done, but we were waiting for a part to get delivered in Tucson, so we couldn't finish the plane until we were down there. So we actually did the rest of the build at the show essentially. So it was good. We got everything done, and fortunately that was awesome. And then now we come back and it's just project after project. So the F-16's in the queue right now. Wednesday's video is going to be on the F-16 and just plugging away on that. So
nice. What show do you have come up after that? What's next?
Next one would be Montana Jets in June, I think is the next one. I may go to what's the big one out east?
Joe Knoll.
Joe Knoll, yeah. It may go to Joe Knoll, may go to Jets over California. So it's kind of a toss-up right now. We'll know in April if we're going to go to Joe Knoll. But the next one that I'll actually bring planes to is going to be Montana. So
I'm doing Knoll for a couple of days, and we're turning it into a family vacation.
Nice.
We're doing an RV, going down to Knoll for I think the weekend, and then we're going to go.
And then, Anthony, you haven't been there. Patrick, you haven't been to Joe Knoll? No.
Correct. And hopefully, if I do end up moving to Florida, I'll be right there. So I'll definitely try to make.
Yeah, look me up if you do.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we end, we've been on here now almost an hour and a half. I want to thank Patrick for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
for sure.
it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
No,
Where can we find you online? Do you have YouTube?
I do have a YouTube channel. You'll find some interestingly funny videos on there. One jet build. I tried to do a Jonathan build. Got about halfway through and went, "Wow, this is really hard." Not quality. So there's a couple videos on there, but it's just Patrick Rohrbach, my name on YouTube. And then Instagram is just Patrick Rohrbach _.
Nice.
And then
I'm gonna
Facebook.
look you up. I want to see some of that flying. I gotta see what it's like. I gotta see the crazy. So good luck with that job too. It sounds like an awesome job, dude. Being able to fly RC airplanes or
man.
for that matter, that would be amazing. So good luck with that.
Wow, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. John, we're good, buddy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Awesome.
You all as well. Thanks for watching, everybody.
The episode will be out soon. We'll send him a timestamp of the diaper comment.
That's funny.
Have a good night, guys.
All right. See ya.